Picture it, you've just wrapped a 2-day conference. The energy was electric. The speakers were incredible. The conversations in the hallways were worth the entire trip. And now, you have nothing to show for it. No content, no clips, no record of any of it. That's a missed opportunity that does not have to happen. Welcome to From Mic to Market. I'm your host, Joanna Lewis, and today we are talking about something I see event organizers, exhibitors, and conference brands get wrong constantly, and it is costing them months of content. Here's a conversation I want to have. Let's talk podcast content versus polished, high-production video. And before you say it, I am not here to tell you that one is better than the other across the board. They serve different purposes. A cinematic highlight reel has its place. Broadcast quality production with a full crew, gorgeous, powerful, worth every dollar for the right moment. But when the goal is to capture the conversations happening at your event, the insights, the expertise, the voices of your speakers and guests, podcast content, whether audio or video, is faster, more flexible, and frankly more useful for most of what you actually need. Let me break down exactly why. Advantage number 1, low friction, high output. Polished video production is a production. You need a director, you need a camera crew, you need light rings, maybe a teleprompter, shot list, and a detailed run of show. You are coordinating a lot of moving parts before you can capture a single second of footage. Podcast content, audio or video, moves differently. A professional podcast setup can be mobile. It can be on site, and with the right team, it can be running within minutes of your event doors opening. I have set up conferences at the Las Vegas Convention Center with full recording kit that travels in a carry-on. We plug in, we sit down with a speaker, and we record. That speaker does not need to be mic'd with a lavalier mic lit from 3 angles and giving blocking directions. They sit across from me and we have a real conversation and we capture something genuine. That low friction is what allows you to do 10 interviews a day. You cannot do 10 broadcast quality video shoots in a day. The logistics will just not allow it. If you want volume, if you want to walk away from a multi-day conference with enough content to fuel your marketing for a quarter, podcast content gives you that. Polished video production gives you fewer, heavier assets. Neither is wrong, but know what you're buying. Advantage number 2 is fast turnaround. Here is where I'm going to be direct. Polished video production has a production timeline. After the event, footage goes into post. There's color grading, sound design, motion graphics, review rounds. A cinematic highlight reel might take 2 to 4 weeks to deliver. A fully produced multi-camera video series, longer. I deliver finished podcast episodes with professional editing, show notes, and distribution-ready files within 24 hours of recording. Why does that matter? Because you are at a conference. The conversations you captured are relevant right now. The topics are current. The guests are top of mind for your audience. The moment you were at the event, the people who follow your brand want to know what happened. That 24-hour turnaround means your content is live while the event is still fresh, while people are still posting about it on LinkedIn, while your guests are still tagged in threads and conversations. Video production is working on a different clock. And for conference content specifically, speed is a competitive advantage. Another advantage, broad distribution, more touch points. Here is something worth understanding about podcast content in 2026. It's not just about audio anymore. It never really was, but the industry has fully caught up. A podcast episode can be audio on Spotify, Apple, and other major podcast platforms. It can be video episodes on YouTube. It could be clipped into short form video for Instagram Reels, TikTok, and LinkedIn. It could be turned into blog post, a show notes article, a newsletter feature, and an email sequence. One recorded conversation at your conference becomes everywhere. A cinematic highlight reel, as beautiful as it is, typically lives in a few places. Your website, maybe YouTube, maybe a paid media push. It is designed for impact in 1 or 2 moments. Podcast content is designed for reach, for the listener who wants to go deep, for the follower who missed the event and wants to feel like they were there, for the B2B buyer who is evaluating your brand and finds 3 episodes featuring your company's leadership, for the speaker you interviewed who shares the episode with their own audience. Distribution multiplies value, and podcast content, audio and video, is built for distribution in a way that heavy production assets simply are not. Advantage 4. Intimate engagement. There is something that happens in a podcast conversation that is very hard to replicate in a scripted video production. People talk differently when they are not performing. A keynote speaker who has delivered the same presentation 40 times will be polished on stage. They will be good. But put them across a table with a thoughtful host, no teleprompter, no camera direction, and the real conversation starts. The unscripted answer, the moment they go off script. The insight they share that did not make it into their slides. That is what podcast content captures. And that intimacy, that feeling of being in the room, of hearing someone think out loud, is exactly what podcast listeners come for. High production video is optimized for visual impact and professional presence. Podcast content is optimized for connection and depth. For a conference where the ideas are the product, connection and depth are everything. Now, here is what I want to be clear about. Podcast content today is already both audio and video. When you record with Simply Podcasting at your event, you can have an audio podcast episode and a video podcast episode from the same recording. Same conversation, multiple formats, ready for every platform where your audience lives. The comparison I am making is not audio versus video. It's podcast content, which can be both, versus the heavy cinematic production track, which is its own separate workflow with its own separate budget and its own separate timeline. Both can coexist. Personally, I love seeing polished videos from events. I work with event teams who use high production video for their main stage recap and podcast content for everything else. The speaker interviews, the exhibitor conversations, the panel follow-ups. They get the flagship asset and the content engine running at the same time. That combination works. But if you are choosing one approach to scale your conference content capture, podcast production is the one that gives you volume, speed, flexibility, and reach all at once. If you're planning an event or you are already on the calendar for a conference in the next few months, we want to talk to you. Simply Podcasting specializes in on-site conference podcasting. We travel to your event. We set up a mobile recording studio. We conduct professional interviews with your speakers and guests, and we deliver finished episodes within 24 hours. Audio, video, short form clips, show notes, we handle it all. We work with events in Las Vegas regularly. We know these venues. We know how to move fast in a conference environment. If you want to walk away from your next event with a content library instead of just memories, let's talk. Visit simplypodcasting.io to see our conference packages or reach out directly at info@simplypodcasting.io. I would love to be at your next event. Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening or watching, depending on where you found us. If this was useful, share it with someone who is planning an event. They will thank you. Again, this is Simply Podcasting, and you've been listening to From Mic to Market. We'll see you next time.